And good evening, everybody. Welcome to this Wednesday webinar, using GeoGebra to create formative assessment items with instant feedback. My name is Tim Brzezinski. I'm the Professional Development Director at GeoGebra, and here to talk about a topic that, and I just have to be honest and say, if you are brand new to GeoGebra, and this is your very first webinar that you're watching about GeoGebra, I have to say that this is probably not the best one for you because we're gonna be doing stuff that people who've used GeoGebra for maybe a few months, get used to seeing things, whatever. People have been interested in doing something like this. So if you're brand new to GeoGebra, very first time, never seen it before, I would strongly recommend not watching this one right now, but instead going to GeoGebra's YouTube page and finding one of the introductory webinars to do so. Okay, but in this webinar, we're going to learn how to create formative assessment items in GeoGebra with instant feedback. Okay, and again, I have to make this disclaimer, be very cautious here. Okay, when we say instant feedback, right? I don't believe students should have that all the time necessarily. There is a time and a place for it, but as a teacher, what I want to embrace more is the productive struggle for students. To really I want students to mess around in GeoGebra and say, "Gosh, what do you notice? What do you wonder?" And really reason. Okay, so when we have times in our classes where we formatively assess students and give them a few practice problems to try to see if they can demonstrate mastery of the objectives that I'm trying to have them master, that they need to master, then there is a time and a place for that. But again, hopefully no more than like 10, 12 minutes at a time, not even. So again, what we're going to do tonight, I'm going to show you how to build a couple of items like this. This will be a part 1 of 2 webinars, which I'll do in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, so, and I've gotten, Ricardo says he's always pronounced GeoGebra the wrong way, apparently. So I've heard it pronounced many ways, but that's okay. So hello, everybody, Mexico City, Nepal, good morning, India. So thank you so much for joining. I'm honored to be here, and I'm honored to show you just what you can do in GeoGebra to be a little creative. To be honest, I created a lot of these items because I was too lazy to walk to the copy machine, honestly. And that at the same time, for the few minutes of classroom a day where I would formatively assess students and have them interact and see if they can create something that meets certain criteria, nobody can copy off the student next to him or her either, because everybody has a differently randomly generated problem. Pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to keep that up and running there. But before, so I want to show you a couple things here in GeoGebra. Okay, the software that the app that I use to create a lot of my quiz items or quiz question or formative assessment items, if you will, is actually the version 5 software, which is I'm sorry, to downloads, my bad. All right, so I actually go to geogebra.org. In the download, geogebra.org right here, the homepage, I go to downloads here, where it says app downloads, and I actually create on my computer in in Classic 5. It looks very similar to Classic 6, but this download right here is the only technically software version of GeoGebra, meaning software you can install on your computer's hard drive. Okay, I'm going to create in the software Classic 5 this week, but 2 weeks from now, when we continue this part 2 of the series, I will create in the GeoGebra app online. So for those of you who only have Chromebooks and not say a computer, we can do the same thing there. Again, Classic 5 and Classic 6, again, so similar. Okay, what I'm doing here, you could do online, okay, as well, but I'm going to use the other app in 2 weeks from now. But I'm going to use Classic 5, which I have downloaded, okay, here. And so basically I have it pretty much right here set up. It's opening now. And this is the software version of GeoGebra that you see right in front of me right here. Now, I already, to save time here in this webinar, I took the time to format this the way that I want to format it. Okay, when you download version 5 to say your computer, it won't look exactly like this because I set my preferences the way I wanted to speed up the time here. But again, what you see here, it's kind of very similar. See the algebra view, which you often see on the left in one of the online apps, it's right here. But my input bar is actually at the bottom, right? But normally in the online apps, your input bar is like right over here on the left side. There's one key difference that you see right now. Okay. Now, another thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this bar up to the top. So in the software version, I'm going to go to View right here. I'm going to go to my layout. Okay. I'm working on a Mac here, but the PC is very similar. Okay. Layout. And where it says input bar, I'm actually going to show it, but I'm going to choose this icon right here. I'm going to show it at the top. See how it brings it right up here? I can start typing stuff in there. That way it's easier for you all to see. Okay. So now, again, all the views are still here. Like in the class, if you go to view, I can view 3D, the spreadsheet. They're all here just like they are on the online app on the right side. You can view the different perspectives. So I'm going to keep these two open. When I create a formative assessment item, I like to have any interface in which kids move points or plot whatever here. And I like to save the words or the text for the second graphics pane on the right side. Okay. Now let's take a look here. So what I'm going to do first of all is we're going to start simple, and then later on in the hour we're going to build something more complex. In the first in the first part of this webinar, we're just going to basically create a quiz item that simply has students add two integers mentally, and if they enter the sum correctly, GeoGebra will spit out, hey, correct, nice job. And if they don't, no, try again. I'm going to show you how the basic gist of that programming works. Okay, so now let's see here. So what I'm going to choose to do is I need randomization here. If every student needs to have a different problem, well, I need a random number. So I'm gonna type in random. There's a few random. One thing I love about the software version of GeoGebra is that when you start typing in input bars, actually, it happens in the online app too. Never mind. Things start appearing here. So I'm going to choose random between. I'm going to create, hello Freddy, hello Vasu. I'm going to create an integer between, say, -10 and 10. Totally random, and GeoGebra called it A, letter A. Okay. Let me make this bigger here. So in case, let me go to font size. I'll make it maybe size 28. Maybe a little bit bigger. All right. And so and so now in version 5, the software version, this little double arrow you see right up here, you can actually, it saves all your commands that you typed so many steps ago. So you can scroll up there. So I'm going to do it again. I'm going to make another random number from -10 to 10. And GeoGebra decided to call it B. Right? So now I'm gonna actually define a third variable called say S for sum. S equals the sum of A and B. Obviously 8 and 3 add to 11. Okay. But now how do you actually randomize these values? Okay. I'm going to show you that here. I'm going to do that by going here and creating a button. You can import a button. You can input a button anytime in GeoGebra there. So for a button here, I'm going to put it in graphics 2. I'm going to call the caption new problem. This is what a student can hit to create a new problem at random. All right. And the script I need to type is simply one line to start. Update construction. All one word. Hello, JRAM. Okay, so if again, no space in there, update construction, open bracket, close bracket. Or you could do open, close parentheses, doesn't matter. Okay. What that does is so I'm just going to leave it there so you can see it again. So that's the script I need to put on the button there. Now I want you to watch A and B. I'm going to press the button. And whoops, hang on. I have to put the move arrow on first to turn off the button. Once I press the button, you see how those values are always changing now? That update construction scripting will cause that to happen. All right. So now I need to actually type the problem here. So I'm going to make a text box. I'm going to put it here. And I'm just going to ask the students to say find sum, right? Find the sum of, say, A. A is -5 in this case. But again, I need to actually choose the object. So right here, see this objects button here? All the objects I have listed right over here in the algebra view will pop down right here. So I can literally click on A and then I'll choose B. Or I can also just click on B right here and it'll show in there like that. And then I hit OK. Turn that off, the arrow, and I can move this, I can move that wherever I want in here. I'm going to turn off the axes, right click, shut off, and actually I don't even need the grid here. But see here, like find the sum of -5 and -1. If I hit new problem, it's just making new problems here. That's all it's doing. Okay, so the first part, again, we're starting very simple. We'll do a way more complex one that's, way more interesting than find the sum of two integers. But I'm choosing to do this one at first just to get you familiar with the basics and the logic behind something like this. Okay, so here we go, creating new numbers left and right. So now I need to provide a place for the student to enter an answer. Obviously, that's important, right? So it might not seem obvious to do right now, but I actually have to introduce a slider. I'm going to bring the slider over here. The slider is going to be named C, I guess. And let me think. What is the minimum possible sum that could exist here? Remember A and B we defined as random numbers between what, -10 and 10, I think, right? We define those as random numbers between -10 and 10. So the lowest sum that could ever exist is -20, right? The highest sum is obviously 20. And then increment doesn't even matter. I'm just going to put something in there to fill it, right? And so see here, okay, there I have a slider. But then you're thinking, Tim, how does that help me with the kid inputting something? That's a great question, because in GeoGebra, whenever you have an input box, again, you go to the slider menu here, all the way down here is input box, right? That input box really is a place where the student will input an answer. So I'll click here and I'll say sum equals. And then now I have to link this input box, the student, into which a student will type an answer. I need to link the input box to that slider right there. So I'll call it C. Okay. Again, I'll pause for a second. For those of you just jumping in here. Again, all I did was use GeoGebra to create two random numbers, A and B. We made a button that every time we hit it, will make different values here. This text simply tells the students what I want them to do. And now I am creating a place where the student can enter an answer. That is called an input box. And I'm linking it to this number right here. And enter. So I know the sum is not 2. Let me turn that tool off by hitting the move arrow here. Okay, but see here, I can do this, but I can also change the value here, right? So see how by typing in values here, the slider changes. But the reality of it is, I'm gonna turn off bubble C. I don't even need that slider in here. That slider is just there because I need a number that's a slider, so the student can actually set the slider value to that number. Again, input boxes need to be linked to sliders. If the slider's not there, it doesn't really serve a purpose. Now I'm going to right click on this input box. I want to make this nicer and cleaner up. Right click. If I go to style, I'm going to make it a length of, say, maybe 4, because that's just way too big, right? And I can do all sorts of fancy alignments and all stuff like that. But again, we'll keep it basic here. See, new problem. There. Now, here's another thing. I don't like that 7 always staying there. How do you get rid of it? I mean, wouldn't you think that every time a student hits new problem that it should just clear out and not have anything at all? That's a great idea, I think. So I'm going to go here I'm going to right click on the button, go to object properties. Okay. And I'm actually going to make this bigger here. I'm on the properties of the button that I just clicked. I need to go to scripting. At the very beginning, when I made the button, I typed that command in there, if you remember, update construction, right? But now I need to tell GeoGebra to set the value. There's a set value command. Set value of that slider C. Isn't this the value C there on the slider? Set the value C to undefined. And by undefined, we put question mark. Okay. So when I hit this button, it's simply going to basically, it's going to update give me new numbers, and it's going to erase that 7 and make it a blank. I'll hit OK. Now watch this. Is it OK? And look at that. See here? There you go. Sankars Mathematics asks in the chat, can we track results of children? Well, you can. Okay, there's a way to do that in GeoGebra, but I've never used it for that purpose because again, remember the whole purpose of this is formative assessment, not summative and to say how many did you get right, how many did you get wrong, but this is more formative. It's kind of like ongoing on the journey, informative, formative, informs you, informs the teacher and the student, if you will. There are ways you could do that, which if I have maybe in the next session, I could do that perhaps, but I'm not gonna actually get to that here, all right? But there you go. So I'm actually going to take this. I want to actually throw this in here because this is small enough really. So I'm going to unfix the object. I'm going to right click. If you want to get that button back over here, let's see. You go to advanced and the location, I'm going to put it in the exercises. Yes, again, yes, Gabby, the purpose of this button is to have students create new exercises for themselves, for sure. And now right here, there's the button. I got to move it out of the way. And I got it right over here. Let me close that graphics pane out altogether. See, just like this. I'm making new exercises. And so what I would often tell students is say, hey, you know, again, I would not something this simple, but like say, okay, you know what? And then they type in the number. It's either now I need to actually get feedback. Is that right or is that wrong? All right. So I'm actually going to choose to make a text box. So watch this. If, right? Again, not a lot, it's not complex, but we need just if and if then else kind of thing. What causes the problem to be, what causes this to be true, right? The student gets the problem correctly if and only if he or she what? Simply has this value C. C has to be the same as the sum A plus B, which we called S, right? So if C equal S, or I could just put A, actually, I don't even need S really. If C equal A plus B, now let me stop for a second. Some of you are thinking, why do you have two equals as signs? Why not just one? The reason why I have two is because for right there, that equal is really the same as is equal to. It's a Boolean operator. It's either true or false. If I only have one equal sign, then it just means equals. But two equals next to each other is a Boolean operator, which is to ask in GeoGebra, spit back true or false. Is this the same value as that? Exactly, Gabby, it's logic, okay? So yeah, and so now right here, let me go back to GeoGebra. Okay, so if again, the student types in the number C, right? Again, remember that slider's hidden, we don't care about it. We just want to place, we need an input box. But as I type in the input box, it's changing the slider value. If C is the same as, or is equal A plus B, then I'm going to say correct. Again, a quotation marks indicates correct. Otherwise, I'm going to say no, try again. And see how the text box no, try again just went up there. You see what I mean? So right there, so again, if C equal A plus B, quotation marks means I'm doing a text box, if you will, correct? Or no, try again. So watch this. Okay, so now I'll leave that there to say just to start there. So, right? And so now again, no, try again appears there. So again, I'll show you how to make that go away even at the very beginning. But watch this. The sum of -2 and -2, let's get it correct. -4. Hey, it says correct. Let me, new problem. -8 and 9 add to 1. Hey, correct. Now we're starting to get somewhere. So now we have one more berry to tackle here. Well, that's obviously, I didn't see that 9, right? How do I make this disappear when this is blank? The way you could do that, because it gets annoying, right? You don't want students seeing that over there. All right, so right there, what you would do is right click here, go to object properties, and under advanced, it's highlighted. Again, I'll take you there, right click, object properties. Under, you have a lot of tabs here. Under advanced, I want, the only way I want to show this object if C, there's a is defined C equal true. Or actually, I could just say is defined C, but basically, there is a GeoGebra command called is defined, and the output of the operator is defined is this value C defined. If the slider C is defined, then the sign will show. If it's not defined, it won't show. So watch this. See how it disappeared? Now, every time I hit new problem, that text box goes away. Text box goes away. So 4 and -3 adds to 1, right? Correct. But now 7 and 9 do not add the 2. It says no, try again, right? Again, remember, the reason why this is showing is because that slider C is defined. Right now, its definition is 2. Right now, the slider C's definition is 3. Right now, the slider C's definition is 4, right? But if I hit new problem, remember in the scripting here, right click, scripting. Remember I said here, I told GeoGebra when you update the construction, you set the value of that slider as undefined. That's what question mark means. And so that's why that text box disappeared, just like that. Okay. And so now I pretty much have got what I have what I need to have done here. So I'm going to make this nice here. So what I'll do is now I have to upload to GeoGebra here. I'll take I'll kind of make it more kind of like this, if you will, right? And so now it doesn't need to be that big, obviously no, try again, right? Again, I'm gonna fix all the text objects here. I'll fix the buttons so kids don't move anything around, you know, and I'll even make this fixed as well. Fix object, right click, and I'll do absolute value on screen. Okay. Question mark is not seen in the box, sir, JRAM. What box are you talking about? Oh, I know what you mean. Yes. When I hit new problem, I know what you mean. Yeah, set value of C is question mark. Question mark used to appear, but it doesn't anymore because for students, it's a lot easier when they hit it. It's kind of a pain to have to hit delete to get rid of the question mark, but it's just blank. Question mark is indicative of undefined. Okay, so there. So now I'm going to save it and I'll call it quiz 1, whatever. I don't know. Actually, I don't need to save it because I'm going to upload it right now. In GeoGebra Classic 5, I go to File, Export, Activity as Web Page. Okay, right there. So look what happens. I'm logged in GeoGebra. I'm going to call it quiz, adding integers. All right, and watch this. I'll upload it. When I do that, it takes me right to, I have to sign in again here. 1 second. There we go. Check it out. Now it's online, just as if I had created something like this online. Okay. Now, if I go to edit it, I could say, okay, you know what? Yeah, we don't need the icon to reset it. Students don't have to pan and zoom. I mean, the point is, it's a basic quiz app here. Okay, and so now I'll save and close. And I won't delete this. In fact, I go to my profile. It's right here. And now what I'll do is I'll actually take this item. I'll never delete it, I promise. I'll drop it in the YouTube chat so you can play with it yourself. Okay, there it is. And that's what I just made. Okay, now could you show the script again, please? Which script? Now, if you want to look at the script, anytime you find a GeoGebra app you see, you're like, you want to go behind the scenes and say, gosh, how did they make that? Let's make sure it works. Hey, correct. That adds a -15. Oh boy, what did I do that? 10, right? And so let's get it wrong. Okay, so now functions the way we want it to function. But again, I wanted to show you that because that's just like a very basic one. We're going to build one that's a little more complicated in the next half hour. Okay. Now, Gabby, if you want to see the script, if you go to the link that I just sent you on the in the chat here, if you click on it on your computer, you don't need the software version. But if anytime any of you want to see how someone made something behind the scenes, you click on the 3 dots in the corner and you go to open an app right there. Okay, you can check it out, open an app. And this will actually open it up in the GeoGebra Classic app online. Doesn't look like just how, see how this is the online app of what I just had software version of, the input bars up here. You got all that, right? But if you want to see it, you can just right click on it, go to settings, and look at that. Now, granted it's here, but you know what? There it is right there. Can we also sound, you sound also when I'm not sure what you mean by sound, JRM. I'm not quite sure what you mean. If you could be specific, that would be cool. But that's how you could look at it online, say. And over here, if you go to view algebra, you can actually see all the stuff that I typed in when I was in GeoGebra Classic 5 right here. Okay. If I go to view algebra, you see how this right here looks just like, here's like the online analog of what I just did in software right here. Personally, I like to create in software on a computer. Now I cannot use software on a Chromebook. I get that. But like I said, in the next, in 2 weeks from now, we do part 2 of this. I will do this all online, like I'm on a Chromebook, say. All right. All right, you got it. You're welcome. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to make something else. All right. I love to ask students to create as much as possible, or to build. So for example, right, think of the typical traditional questions that we often traditionally ask students to do, right? Save, sure, why not? But think about, like, for example, right here. Let's say, find the area of a triangle, find the area of this triangle, find the area of the triangle, find the area of the triangle. Well, okay, we could ask students that 2 or 3 or 4 times, but wouldn't it be better, instead of saying find the area of this triangle, why don't we instead ask them to construct a triangle with an area of 30 square units? Give them 2 or 3 of those to do. Again, isn't that a simple, it's a simple shift of, instead of having you rote regurgitation, blah, 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 base times height divided by 2, right? Why not ask the student to create it? Create an acute triangle with area 16. Create a right triangle whose area is 10. Now we're addressing a few concepts at the same time, while we're asking the students to build in GeoGebra that triangle. Check your answer, and I wonder, is it right? That's where we'll be going now. All right. So to do that, I'm going to get out of here. And let's actually go back to GeoGebra, and we're going to build. In fact, I have an online version of what I'm going to show you how I make this here. In fact, we'll do this. 1 second. Should have had it ready. I'm sorry. It's here. Here it is. I'm going to show you how to make something like this. Look, check out this app right here. Each side of a square measures 1 unit. Move the y points around to create a triangle whose area is 16 square units. So I could check my answer. Oop, nope, that's wrong. Got to try again. So let me see. That's 4 times 4 is 16. Well, again, there's more than one right answer, but if I make the base 8, right? When did that work? 8 by 4 is 32. Cutting app. Oh, that's the area of 36. I'm sorry. I thought it was 18. So I got to make sure this multiplies to 72. Right? Hello, Thompson. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5, 6, 7, 8. Hopefully that should work. Oh, good. Right? And then I might ask the students, hey, can you make another triangle that has area of 36? Okay, watch this. What? You know, and kids are like so shocked to find out, really? You know what I mean? Obviously, the heights are all the same. The base is 9, the height is 8. So any of these will work, right? So how do we use GeoGebra to create something like this? Again, forget asking students to find the area of a given triangle. Sure, you could ask them that, but I like to ask students to build triangles that have certain areas, or build a trapezoid with an area of 16. Again, the possibilities are endless, right? But we'll do that right now. Okay, so let's go back to GeoGebra and let's build it. All right, so here we go. 1 second. Okay, now, so first of all, I'm going to actually, I'm actually going to make a triangle right here. right? I'm actually do the polygon. This is what the students are going to manipulate throughout. See what I mean? Triangle ABC. There we go. Now for starters, right? I mean, I'm going to do a couple things here. I don't need the axes to show, so I'm going to right click and turn off the axes because there's no point, right? Now, if I have a problem involving coordinates of points, then sure, I'll keep them on, but there's no need here. So let's see. Let's actually make this triangle kind of prettier first. I'm actually going to hide B, A, and C. Well, not T1 though. When you turn on the triangle, the polygon is called T1. That's actually its area, by the way. The polygon name is T1. The area is 38.5, right? But I like to turn those off, and I like to make it look a little nicer. I'm very particular about how like a lot of my constructions look. But I'm also going, by the way, a little trick, if you hold down Shift and click on multiple objects, like, look, here we go, Shift. I can go over here to the graphics little toolbar, and I could go to AA and hide those labels. You could do name and value, name. Again, just GeoGebra basics, if you will. I'm just going to hide those. And I'm also going to hide the names of the points because the letters, I don't need to see them. Right? Now let's make a prettier color here. I'm going to right click object properties, go to color. Now let's go to style. We'll make the line thickness 0 so the black lines are seen better. But we can make the color something nicer, looking like a blue. Make the opacity a little darker so the students can still see the grid lines. That's important, right? I think that's good. You know, I'm asking students to build triangles that have a area of whatever, right? So there you go. Now, as a teacher, you could scaffold this as much as you want. Some teachers like to build stuff for kids. They like to actually, well, what if I were to show the label of this, show the value, right? Oh, that's 11. And I could drop a perpendicular to the line containing the base and show that value. I mean, yeah, you can. Again, that's your call if you want to do something like that. But, you know, maybe you have a student who truly struggles and needs that scaffolding. Well, you could totally do that. But there might be a danger of putting 11 here because that doesn't always have to be the base. As we know, base does not always mean bottom, you know. But again, it's whatever you make of it. But I'm just going to keep it hidden for now. But now we need to, I'm going to actually go to my layout again. View layout. I'm going to put the input bar at the top so you can see me typing better. All right. So now we need what? We need to actually create the area values. We need random numbers, don't we? We need random numbers for it to generate so we can give the student can actually have a problem to a triangle to build. So to do that, I'm actually going to use the sequence command. Oh my gosh, sequences are beautiful in GeoGebra. They make working with multiple objects very, very easy. But again, you know, it's all in seeing how the command works. I'm going to choose this last one here. Sequence, again, I have to type an expression containing a variable, not X, Y, or Z. Okay. And tell GeoGebra, what's the variable? Give it a start value, an end value, and what you increment by. So watch this. I'm actually going, for the sake of simplicity here, I'm actually, not that it matters, but I'm actually going to make all the areas even numbers, 2i, right? The variable I'm going to use is I. The start value will be, well, what's the lowest area I could want? Maybe 2. If I is 1, it'll spit out an area of 2, right? But now what's the biggest area I want? What's the biggest possible value that it could generate for an area? Ask the student to graph. I don't know, maybe something like 25. That'll go from an area from 2 to 50. And I'll increment by ones, right? So basically, I'm going to have, so the expression is 2i, the variable is I, starting index of I equals 1, ending index of I equals 25, and I'm going to increment that index by 1. So watch this. See how it goes 2, 4, 6, 8, and it'll go all the way up to 50. There we go. Hang on. I got to move this over a little bit. I mean, it saves a lot of energy, it saves a lot of time and effort to have to type all that in manually. See what I mean? Now I could go back here and if I make it to 50, it'll go all the way up to 100. right? I can redefine it at any time, but I'll just keep it here to keep it simple. All right. So now let's see what we got here. Now right here is there. So now I'm going to say, hey, I need to take a random element from this now. And there is a random element command. Random element from a list. My list, GeoGebra called L1. Give me a random element, please. 34, right? Again, it could have chosen anyone. It chose 34. But now let's make the button to make new problems here. Button. Put it there. I'll just say new problem for its title. And remember that just like we did in the last half hour, we need to tell it to update construction. Reassign the variable, if you will, the value of that random element. Okay. Turn it off and watch the value of D change. If I hit it, see, that's what it's going to have the student do. All right. Now I need to start putting a text in here. Go to text, and I'll put it here. Move the large points, right, to create a triangle with area equal, again, objects. What's that random value called? Oh, GeoGebra called it D, right? So go to objects and look for D. Okay, there you go. I'll say 40, say square units, be specific, sure. There you go. I'll move that over. And look at that. See what I mean? That's it. Just like that. All right, so now we need to actually go back and see, well, gosh, what makes this problem correct? Many times I like to define a Boolean, as I'll show you here. I like to have I didn't do it in the last one because it was so simple, but I often, when I make these, I often have a Boolean called correct. And correct simply is defined as what makes the condition true. Many times I will actually have some sub-Booleans under there, like C1, C2, C3. For example, I could have asked the student to make an acute triangle or an obtuse triangle or a right triangle that has a certain area. That's a little bit more involved. We're going to do more involved ones next time, okay? But which will have to take the conjunction of all those Booleans pretty much. Sometimes I might need to do a disjunction or an or. Okay, by the way, a double and in GeoGebra is equivalent to this symbol. I'm always too lazy to try to find those in the menu, but all I know is that if I do and, it's the same as conjunction. And the parallel line markers on the very far right of the keyboard, two of those together is equivalent to or. And of course, is equal to is equal. Okay. So let's go back. So here we have that right there. Now, in fact, just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to go back here to D. Oops, hang on. I'm going to go back to the list. I want to make them smaller because I don't feel like multiplying too large. My brain's tired. But let's just go to say 15. We'll make it smaller. But if any of you want it, you know what? You can always, when I upload it, you can copy this and edit it to your heart's content. Nothing stopping you, right? Anyway, long story short, there it is. So now, how do we actually say if it's correct or not? Well, let's see. Correct. Actually, I don't need to use the word correct tonight because it still is too simple. If something is true, right, then I want to say correct. And then otherwise, no, try again. But what's got to go right here? That's what I want to know. What's the magic touch here? What do we need? What do we need to tell GeoGebra to figure out? How do I know if the student did it right? Yes, DS, you could totally do that. Yeah, your question there in the chat, of course. Okay, if something equals true, well, what is that? So we want the area of this polygon to be equal to what? Equal D, right? C equal D, Scott. Let's see, what was C again? C was the, not, D is, in your response, D is correct, but on one side, but what's the actual random element called? Well, the random element is called D, But what's the actual, who could tell me what the actual area of the, that's okay. No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. You look legit. Very good, Sean. You got it. T1 equal D. You see how GeoGebra is calling this GeoGebra is calling this triangle object T1. Remember, that value is the area of that triangle. So T1 is 33 and the random is 28. So if T1 is equal D, you got it. Then I'll say correct. No, or no, try again. So look at that. You got that. We go right there. Right? And so now, just watch to see here. Let's actually just see if this works. Area of 12. Well, base times height. So I need a base and height that multiply to 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10, 9, 8. Let's make it 8 by 3. See how it says correct? And anywhere, see how the height of this triangle is always 3 if I consider this to be the base? Anywhere on this line, see how that correct is always there. But if I go up here, nope, try again. Try again. But what other, oh, here's one. Okay, that's 8 by 3. But what about 2? If the height was 2, what does this have to be? 12, 9, 10, 11, 12. And anywhere along here, right? In part 2 of this series, we're going to go back and re-edit this file, and we're going to actually put an extra condition to create an acute triangle or an obtuse triangle or a right triangle. We're going to make more specifications there. So we're going to have some sub-Booleans for correct. But again, we're just getting started with part 1 tonight. All right. Cool. Awesome, Scott. Glad you see it. So now, there we go. And so now for a new problem, again, no try again. Remember what I did last time? I'll right click, go to object properties for that button now, for the button. And over here, I'm going to go to scripting. I did that before, but now I'm going to tell GeoGebra to set the, no, not set the value, I'm sorry. Update construction. Hang on. Let me see here. Here's what I did. So I actually did this. I put a checkbox in here that says check answer, or check construction, I should say. Okay. So some of you may have used this in GeoGebra before. This is called a checkbox. It's off. It's either true when it's on, false when it's off, right? So every time, I'm going to right click, I'm going to unfix it. I'm going to drag this closer so it's not as big. But see here, what I'm going to do is that every time I hit new problem, I want this to turn off. So right click, object properties for the button now. Okay. And now I'm going to go to on click. When I click the button, again, right click, object properties for the on click, I'm gonna say set value of this Boolean called check construction. See how it's called E to false. I could also say E equals false. I could say that too, but I just like that. I like using the set value command. Whenever I make a new problem, I want new numbers. I want a new number, and I want this to be turned off. Okay, so check this out here. So I got that, and now I want this sign to appear only if this box is checked. So I go here and right click, object properties. Okay, right click, object properties, go to advanced. And then under condition to show object, gosh, what was that? What was that Boolean? It was E. E equal true. Or so if basically if E is if this E Boolean is turned on, then I want this sign to appear. But if this is off, no, I don't want it to appear right there, right? So see how it's false now? I make a new problem. Oh, let me check it. Oh, shoot, it's not right. But you know what would also be nice? I would like this to disappear whenever I move one of the 3 points or the triangle itself. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to take this. I'm going to right click. Now watch it. I'm clicking on a point now. You could put GeoGebra scripting on anything you want. When I move something, I want something to go away and vanish. You can do that, and it's very easy to do. When a student moves point C, I don't want him or her knowing it's correct. I want them to actually think, and then hit the checkbox there. Okay, so I right click on that, and then I go to where it says scripting on up. Now I want to go to on update, because see, if I move now, I can have that disappear on the click, but I like to do an on update for a point, because updating a point means moving it, right? So if a student tries to move this point, I'm going to set value. I'm going to turn that checkbox off. False. Okay. Whenever a student moves that point, it's going to turn that. It's going to turn that check off, which is going to turn this sign off right here. Okay. I'm going to copy that. Okay. Right. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the other point here, and I'm going to paste it right there. So when a student moves this point right down here, when a student moves that point, I want that checkbox turned off. And I want that to happen. The same thing over here. Right click, object properties, paste it, done. Now watch this. Oh, and you know what? Could a kid move the triangle? Oh, when a student moves a triangle, it moves that. So it's going to be anyway. New problem, new problem. Let me move these around. Let me check. Oh, shoot, I got it wrong. Hang on. See, when I watch, I'm going to move C down. When I move C down, this is going to uncheck, and that's going to disappear. Ready? Goodbye. Oh, did I do it right now? Ah, shoot. Move it again. It's going to disappear. See what I mean? So it's not like students will, again, not to make the student's life difficult, but I want all the distractions out of the way. I want the student to kind of to think about what he or she is doing. But that's how this logic works. And watch. 18. Okay, so we need something to multiply to 36, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll go 6 by 6. We need a height of 6 now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to be wrong, but 6 should be right. There we go. And anywhere up here on this line, a height of 6. Base times height divided by 2 is right, and you got it. Okay. So that's kind of the logic of what I use when I make these things. Now, again, I want to address an important point that I said at the very beginning. I do not believe a math class should be fixed solely to this. A question like this for students has this place in the classroom, but I beg you, please, not to make this practice of, like, say 30 or 40 minutes worth. That's not its intent. Its intent is for quick check, whatever. Again, I personally believe students should be working with discovery-based learning and literally just building. What do you notice? What do you wonder? Being intrigued. This does not fall into that category. This falls into the category of, okay, quick formative assessment in this case, because again, in the what do you notice, what do you wonder kind of mentality, kind of activity, we don't want feedback to always be immediate for students. All right. But there are times and places for something like this, but for a few minutes at a time, I would say, my opinion. But again, you have something like this to do that. But I personally believe this far beats the question of, hey, here's a printed problem on a worksheet. What's the area of this triangle? You know, I like to have students create triangles that meet a certain condition. And, you know, it's the same. We're testing the same objective, but we're doing it in a very synthesis constructive way. All right. So there you go. So now I think the work here is essentially done. I mean, I can go here, fix it, right click, put it there. I'll fix right click. I'll just fix everything. Those don't really move anyway, but let me check. You know what I mean? Something like that. By the way, you can graph a line with a given slope. We'll do that next time we do this. I'll show you how you can have students graphing lines, doing whatever. But again, that's the heart of it right there. So let's clean this up. I'll upload it and then take a question or two. We'll call it a night. So there we go. Thank you, Hugo. Thank you, Hugo. Hugo, I really appreciate that for the compliment. I'll close out the algebra review. We'll go here. And now just kind of make it a little smaller. Again, students that have small Chromebook screens, you don't really want to have a 1500. You don't want to have a huge thing on there. It really slows up the time there. But I'm not going to save right now. What I'll do is I'm going to upload it. File, export. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Scott, Gabby. Absolutely. My pleasure. Activity. And I'll say create triangles given area. And then I'll upload it. And it brings me right to the thing there, you know, so I have it. I might have to I might want to move this back a little bit, but again, I'll just keep it as is. I like to personally to go no more than 900 by 500. That's the goal I try to reach, but it doesn't always happen. I'll hit done, and then I'll hit save and close, and I will drop this in the YouTube live chat. And if you're watching this YouTube video after the fact, not live, I promise I'll put both things in the description of the video so you can look at it afterwards. Okay, let me just copy that. I'll throw it in here. Live session there. Whoops. Hang on a second. Wrong one. Profile. I got to get the link there. There it is. There. And we'll throw it in the YouTube channel for you. There you go. All right. So, but yeah, that's how we can make some problems that look like this. Okay. Next week we're going to continue part 2 of this. We're going to build some way more complicated ones in 2 weeks from now. But one of the things that we'll do is we're going to modify this so that we can create either we'll have another random variable determining right, acute, or obtuse triangle with a certain area. So we're going to have some sub Booleans in there. You know what I mean? And we can give some specific tailored feedback to that. We could also build one where we have students graph a circle written in whose equations in standard form. We need 2 Booleans there. We need to check the radius of the circle, whatever, or maybe something similar to that. I'm not sure. I want to pick ones that address a lot in the least amount of time as possible. So ended about 8 minutes earlier than I had planned, and I guess that's okay. So if you have any other questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. So thank you, Vasu. Thank you. Jaron, we said, can we link sound when students do correct? I'm not sure linking. There is a play sound command in GeoGebra. I can definitely tell you that. If you look it up online, just Google it, play sound command GeoGebra. You will see how you can use it. But where there's a will in GeoGebra, I have found out where there is a will, there definitely always is a way. I haven't thought about it yet, but I'm sure something like that could definitely do that. Can I import Gabby asks, can I import an activity like this into Desmos? Well, I know you could take a GeoGebra URL and input it into a slide in Desmos Activity Builder. I have seen teachers that use Desmos will say, hey, practice this in GeoGebra. The hyperlink will be there and it'll just open it in a new tab. Okay. But I can tell you that you can embed in a certain file. And I don't think, again, I don't want to speak for Desmos, but I know that because I know that in GeoGebra, if you click here and go to edit activity, edit activity right here, you can actually, if you add an element there, you can actually add, you can embed an external URL, where is it for web? So if I go to say, I can input a teacher activity from Desmos to maybe I can embed Desmos in GeoGebra, but I'm not so sure if I can do it the other way around. But you'd have to look more into that. Okay, like that. But I know with Desmos, they have their computation layer and there's stuff that you can do there with that. And again, that's a whole course in and of itself. But yeah, so you got it. Any other questions that we have here? Not, we may, is it okay, so is it possible for students to work live collaboratively on tasks? You're welcome, Gabby. Yes, that's what, actually, Marina, are you talking about having like a graph where 2 or 3 people can edit the same graph at once? Is that what you mean? Or are you talking about something else? While you answer that question, JRM asks, can student type mathematics equation to answer in classroom? In GeoGebra classroom, sure. But if I could actually have a student, for example, I could actually have an input box here where students type an equation and write a function that find the equation of a line with the slope of this and a y-intercept of that. Sure, I could have an input box where the student inputs an equation. Absolutely. I have several of them there. In fact, if you go to formative, hang on a second, assessment question, here it is. I'll drop this in the YouTube chat for you to answer your question, but you're asking something like this, I think, right here. JRM, if I'm answering correctly, so this way, the new problem just generates equations of lines, right? And I want to type it in here. Yes, there is a way to do that. So I will drop this link to you. If you go to view, if you go open an app and you can look behind the scenes, you can start definitely playing around with that. I'm happy to throw that in the chat as well. All right, so let me do that here. All right, go to the next question. So yeah, all right. Yeah, Marino, right now, I have seen some third parties do this where they have Desmos and GeoGebra, like people can edit it only one at a time. But you're welcome. But you know, at the moment, no. But again, nothing stopping it from coming. I know that. Again, I can't speak for any app in particular, but your wish and mine are pretty much the same. So yeah, cool. All right. Well, it is just about the top of the hour. So thank you again for watching. Next week, I'll be in here. We're going to do 3 more weeks of webinars. And we'll end in the second week of July. We'll take about a month and a half off from these webinars here, and then we'll resume them again when the fall starts up here in the Northern Hemisphere, I should say. So, but thank you again for watching. Next week, we'll talk about I've also gotten asked by many people, how do you create animations in GeoGebra? You move a slider and angles and crazy things start moving and happening. For those of you who want to see how a way that can be done, I'll definitely show you that in 2 parts. So we'll start that first part next week. 2 weeks from tonight, we'll resume where we left off right here. And then we'll be good to go. So thanks for watching. Have a great night.